Hey everyone, this is Jeff of FLECHETTES. A couple years ago we tested out the Anferov Bullet. Very cool design by Dmitry Anfarov. It's essentially a small arrow-shaped, dart-shaped, fin-stabilized projectile. For me, it was very difficult to find the right powder load. It was very easy to overpressure it and cause the sabots to strip off that slug at a high velocity, and the slug would come out at a low velocity. That's not what we want. And this happened a few times. It's just one of those things that go wrong when you test stuff. But like everything in life, we learn a lot more from things that go wrong than things that go right. And sometimes things do go right, and this is what it's supposed to look like. We get good sabot separation right out of the barrel, and the dart travels onward at a high velocity, flying straight through the air. Dmitry decided to redesign the sabot, making a completely new mold. These aren't 3D printed, these are injection molded. And the material is a polymer similar to what you'd find in a PMAG. It's really hard and rigid. Now this was a really big improvement. We had much fewer failures. Often it's my fault for using the wrong powder load or something like that, but we had a lot better results using the new design. And at this point I thought that was his final design. But nope. Around May of this year, yeah, he's been waiting a while for me to test these things, and I apologize for that. He sent a third type. So now instead of 2 sabots, we now have 3 sabots. So yeah, he had to make another mold to injection mold those sabots. But also the dart itself is redesigned. The dart now has 3 locking lugs, which match up with the lugs inside the sabot. And also the weight is just a little bit heavier now, at 24.6 grams. Now the casual observer may think these would be a piece of cake to load. You throw some powder in, stuff that sabot down in the shell, roll crimp it, and you're done. But because it has such a large volume that must be filled with powder, it's really easy to use too much powder and cause all those sabot stripping problems. So I have a bit of a conundrum here. If I use the right weight of powder for that projectile, it's not going to fill that space and will either have a delayed ignition or no ignition of the powder. Both scenarios are unacceptable. What I needed to do was to find out exactly the minimum amount of volume I needed to fill that space with powder. So I used some silly putty, and you can see it worked out pretty well. And this is the absolute minimum amount of volume we need for this projectile to fill that space. That unfortunately equates to almost 60 grains of long shot. That's not going to work out well. That's almost 3 times more than what we need. And using a powder called tightwad, it's not as dense as long shot, and we only need 38 grains of that, which is again way too much. We need about 18. I needed to reduce the volume that we needed, so I used the good old wet toilet paper, packed it around the fins to take up some more space. This very light but also very strong material will break up into 4 little segments when we fire it, and it'll probably disintegrate too. And hopefully it won't interfere with how the sabots separate when they leave the barrel. Using the wet toilet paper as a filler, our minimum volume of powder needed is now almost in half. We now only need 18 grains of tightwad, which is what I was shooting for, and 26 grains of long shot. And to make sure we had no air gaps in our powder, I added a couple airsoft BBs before I put the powder in. Yeah, it's screwy, but we'll see if this works. Now that I've bored you with all these important details, we'll now go out and test these out and see if my unusual powder loads work or not.
Hi, my name's Ryan. You may recognize me from such YouTube shows as FLECHETTES. Today, we're going to be shooting these sabot rounds. We have a couple of different load configurations here that we're going to be trying out. These are also called FLECHETTE rounds or mini darts. I'm so ignorant of the physics behind these, I'm going to call them sabots.
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 Yeah. There's like, I've heard like 5 different pronunciations for sabot, and sabots, sabots, sabo. You know, I mean, there's just a lot of. We just say sabot. It may not be right everywhere, but it's
We just got to be consistent.
Well, the good book says you're not supposed to shoot on the sabot.
Oh, okay.
Got it.
Now, just throw the shell in there. Or you can do it that way. That'll work. Okay, never mind.
It's a little different than
You're
my
not
one
going to
at
look
home.
like the most tactical dude, but
Thanks
that's
for
all right.
walking me through.
Okay, I'm ready. Wow. Ready. Where did it impact?
I mean, pretty much right where I was aiming on the sticker. I'm really impressed with the accuracy and stability of that, which I really shouldn't, because I think that's the literal point of a
We
Sabo.
don't know what the stability is because I'm only filming like 10 feet of the travel, but it looked really stable in that situation.
Well, that's the critical stabilization point, right?
Right.
And we did find the fins, but not the steel ball itself.
Yeah, the long steel shaft, and it's like almost like a torpedo-shaped nose on it and everything.
Yep. Yeah, but that's some impressive accuracy.
Yeah,
If I may say so about myself.
Right, I'm impressed. With good optics and everything, and a steady shooter. We got lucky with the powder load. That was the tightwad load, and we seem to have lots of power on that.
Dimitri specifically asked me to get some shots of the projectile leaving the barrel. And you can see we have a little bit of blow by some of that high pressure gas escaping past the gas seal. But we also had a really good sabot separation and very steady flight of that dart. And if you're curious where the airsoft BBs went, well, there's one of them right there, kind of meandering out the barrel.
Okay, another tightwad load. Another good hit.
And again, we had a little bit of blow-by of the high-pressure gases, and we're talking about 10,000 psi of pressure here. And we can also see how the toilet paper filler kind of disintegrates. And once again, we see the airsoft BBs kind of leaving the barrel.
Yep, the fact that I hit something so dead center was so suspicious. Jeff made me try it again, and sure enough, this time I was high.
Just a little bit.
Yep, there's a little bit of damage that's coming down here, so I don't know if that's spalling or maybe it was a little crooked when it hit. I don't know. I technically did strike sticker though.
Okay, let's try another one. Okay, I'm ready when you are.
All right, aiming low.
You hit it.
All right, aiming low.
Now here we see the last couple yards of flight, and we can see that the slug is kind of waggling through the air, which is not very desirable because it affected its accuracy. But can we call that full penetration of the lead plate? Let's take a closer look and decide for ourselves.
Well, on the first round, I missed.
Yeah.
It went high, and so I tried again, aiming low, and it still went high and hit the edge. But what a hit. That thing punched all the way through this lead plate. Look at this. This is actually cracked along this seat.
What the?
And there's the second gouge here. I don't even know what made this, but this wasn't here before I shot.
Hopefully we'll see something. I don't think a Sabo could do that. And I can't remember if that was something we shot previously, but it looks like it's fresh. There's no oxidation or anything on the lead plate. I'd say you hit the helmet.
Now a hit's a hit, but as you can see, the projectile hit a little bit to the right. Now, little did we know, and sometimes it takes a few shots for this to become apparent, our red dot was getting knocked out of zero.
Little glancing blow right here. So centered up and down a little bit to the right.
But it didn't glance off. It still penetrated.
Yeah, what's interesting is that whole Sabo round is here buried in this Kevlar. You can feel this big old lump right here. It feels like the fins and everything is there between the layers.
Okay, yeah. But it might have protected him. He looks like he has a new dent on top of his head there.
Yeah, I think that the helmet may have been protective.
This is our last tightwad round, so I'm ready when you are, Ryan. Very nice. So I'm ready when you are, Ryan.
Now Ryan was aiming at the center seam of those bricks and again about 3 inches off. Now even though our red dot is knocked out of 0, we are seeing some consistencies on the points of impact.
Okay, I am ready.
When we tested the Type 2, the 2 sabot version of this previously, I never got the side shot like this, so I wanted to be sure to do that for Dimitri, and hopefully that's some help to him.
I'm going to aim at the bottom left corner of the sticker.
Okay, probably hit the table. Okay, I'm ready when you are.
Are you kidding me?
That was a big old dirt splash out there again.
I see it. Are you actually kidding me? That was almost the center of the plate and it didn't hit?
Welcome to prototype testing, Ryan. Now the new style 3 sabot projectile seemed to work pretty well using 26 grains of long shot. Now it seemed like every shot we were taking, it was knocking that red dot a little bit more out of 0, and that is very frustrating.
Okay, third time. I'm ready when you are. There you go. We're gonna have to start calling you the Edge Master, because a lot of your shots have been hitting the very edge. Which one is it?
I think the term is edgelord there.
Oh, okay.
It's going to be this one. Yeah, a couple of things to talk about, because I was aiming low center and this thing was like 6 inches off.
Yeah.
Just blew through the very edge there.
Hey, I got an idea. Let's shoot just a Foster slug, and just to verify that the sights, the red dot didn't shift on us or something weird like that.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Maybe I knocked the optics or something.
I don't know how, but we'll just verify that you can shoot and verify that the red dot is on. And
oh, now I'm nervous.
Why? if it's really bad, I won't include it in the video.
The other thing is that these rounds had, what was it, more powder but with a slower burn?
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure if it was going to have more kick or less kick, and I was interested in comparing those. And that was, I shot this first round, and that was when I realized I didn't really pay attention to what the previous ones felt like.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't a noticeable difference. Just from my imagination, I want to say it was less of a kick, but very comparable.
Okay.
I thought it might be more.
Okay. Okay, point of aim is right on the orange sticker, no compensating, no corrections. See where our red dot actually is. We can blame the red dot or something. Okay, I'm ready when you... When I say I'm ready, you don't have to shoot at that moment. You can just...
I was ready.
Now that red dot was sighted in using Foster slugs, and we could see how far off that red dot has shifted. It's not only 3 inches to the right, but also about 3 inches high now. So it's understandable why he was getting some missed shots.
Now I'm going to try it with the Benelli iron sights. A little more comfortable for me.
Okay. Okay, let's see how he does with the iron sights. I'm ready whenever you're ready. An improvement. We were having some, I don't know what happened to our red dot, if it started shifting on us. That's what happens sometimes, It's even with the Foster slug, it was high and right. And that's just not right for California, right?
We have been sabotaged.
Okay, so what happened here?
So yeah, it still went a little right, but it penetrated directly through this lead plate. What's really amusing to me personally is that the fins got stuck inside while the rest of it carried through.
Here, lean it back just a little bit.
Is that good?
There you go.
That is just
that's interesting.
Highly amusing to me.
Yeah, they could have bounced out or broken, but those things are pretty tough too.
Yeah, I'm also just impressed with the way that it punched through like that.
And flip it around, let's see the backside. I saw all kinds of debris. Oh, clean hole.
Yeah, it's a relatively light load too.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
That's an ugly, I didn't clean up that plate very good because my hose was starting to leak propane, and I was worried I was going to catch myself on fire.
That's a hell of a problem.
Yeah, I had to buy a new torch, so, because buying a new torch was cheaper than buying a new hose. Imagine that. Imagine that.
I just realized you're not talking about your garden hose.
Oh, okay. It's the block of wood. It's the block of wood. Oh, it didn't react very good.
Well, I handed Ryan another shotgun that he has never shot before, but he did manage to hit the edge. That's why we call him the Edge Master.
The block of wood. I didn't know. I didn't even think you hit it. And you were you trying to compensate a little bit, aiming to the left?
Extremely small, like maybe less than an inch left of center.
Okay.
But yeah, so I winged it all the way to the left.
We're gonna call you the Edge.
The Edge Lord and the Wingman now.
Yeah.
Yep. I hit it though.
Yeah, you hit it. That's a hit. We just needed a bigger block of wood. We got the flaming bucket of water. Grand finale. There you go. There you go.
Now this time I told Ryan to aim directly at the center, and he hit it directly in the center. Now we can definitely say this was one of those frustrating tests, but at the end it all worked out pretty well. We managed to use 2 different American powders on his unusual Russian slug, and we didn't have any squibs, we didn't have any guns blowing up or anything like that. Everything was safe. Now I had to use a very unorthodox way of loading these things, but I used 2 different powders with 2 very different burn rates. Now rarely are my powder loads ideal. It usually takes a lot more testing than this to figure that out.
The last shot was pretty accurate.
That's quite a way to go out. I mean, this was probably the most accurate shot since the first one. You know, I don't normally miss that much, I swear.
Yeah.
Like I tell my wife, it's completely normal and happens to every guy once in a while. You can see like just clean round hole in the front, and then the back it all pedaled out like Bugs Bunny had his finger on it. So it looks like it might have gone through the other side sideways.
It might have knocked it off, you know, just changed its orientation and left a little, you know.
Oh, well, I mean, the way that everything jumped in the middle was spectacular to see with my eyes. I'm really excited to see it on the slow-mo.
It really flexed the table, and it shot that stream of water way up in the air.
What I enjoy is that it popped the ball up into the air, and it landed and just sat here on the plate where we took it from. Just right there in this little bullet hole.
That's funny. We didn't need a tarp this time, folks. Well, anyway, thank you, Ryan, for bearing with us with this very frustrating test. I expected some frustration, some, you know, trying to get these powder loads correct and right. A Russian slug using American powders that are, I might not be using the right powder. Some people have suggested we use black powder, and because they've suggested, I sent a dozen of these to a channel called Everything Black Powder, and hopefully he films that soon and shows us the results. Using homemade black powder out of probably some old shotgun. I'm really excited to see that. See if he can hit, you know, anything at 50 yards or 100 yards or something like that. I don't know what he's going to do with them, but I hope the weather's been good for him in I think he's in Arizona or western Arizona or something like that. So we'll see. Black powder, it's just hard for me to film black powder with a high-speed camera. That's the biggest thing.
Well, this wasn't frustrating for me at all. I really enjoyed it beginning to end. I mean, I'm just happy to come out here and shoot, and thank you for having me out, Jeff.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching, Tauflader fans. You know, I'm just out here having a good old time.
Yeah, and we got a lot of positive comments about you. You're always going to get a couple trolls. People, there's something wrong in their head. They think insulting, you know, a nice guy who's just in a video is completely acceptable. and it doesn't make it, you know, it doesn't reflect on them. It's like you said, if you have nothing good to say, why say it? Why hurt people's feelings and stuff?
Well,
you know?
they cannot possibly be more critical of me than I am of myself. So
Yeah.
what can I say?
You're a good guy, man. What is that noise?
That
Anyway.
sounds like rushing water. Maybe we ought to move out of here.
Yeah.